Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the Director, thank you so much for being here. As I've mentioned before, my grandfather was a career FBI agent, so I have great affinity for the agency and what you do and how you do it. They almost always make us proud. But the big question for our country is, you know, how much privacy are we going to give up in the name of security? And as you said, there's no easy answer to that. But when historically, with all the resources and assets of the federal government, all the expertise, all the billions of dollars, when has it been the function of government to compel or force a private citizen or a company to act as an agent of the government to do what the government couldn't do?
I suppose that's a legal question. In lots of different circumstances, private entities have been compelled by court order to assist, again, through the All Writs Act. New York Telephone is the Supreme Court case, the seminal case on the topic.
So let's talk for a moment about what you can see and what you can do. With all due respect to the FBI, they didn't do what Apple had suggested they do in order to retrieve the data, correct? I mean, when they went to change the password, that kind of screwed things up, did it not?
Yeah, I don't know that that's accurate, actually. I wasn't there, don't have complete visibility, but I agreed with the questioner earlier. There was an issue created by the effort by the county at the FBI's request to try and reset it to get into it quickly.
And if they didn't reset it, then they could have gone to a Wi-Fi, local Wi-Fi, a known Wi-Fi access, and performed that backup so they could go to the cloud and look at that data, correct?
Right, you could get in the cloud through that mechanism anything that was back-upable, to make up a word, to the cloud, but that does not solve your full problem. I think I'd still be sitting here talking about it otherwise.
Well, but let's talk about what the government can see on using a phone, and it's not just an iPhone, but you can look at metadata, correct?
Yes.
The metadata is not encrypted, correct? If I called someone else, or that phone had called other people, all of that information is available to the FBI, correct?
In most circumstances, right, metadata.
In this case, let's talk about this case. You want to talk about this case. You can see the metadata, correct?
My understanding is we can see most of the metadata.
How would you define metadata?
I was just going to say that. Metadata, as I understand it, is records of time of contact, numbers assigned to the particular caller or texter. It's everything except content. You can't see what somebody said, but you can see that I texted to you in theory. My understanding is with text in particular, that's tricky, particularly texting using iMessage. There's limitations on our ability to see the metadata around that. Again, I'm not an expert, but that's my understanding.
And do you believe that geolocation, if you're tracking somebody's actual where they are, is that content or is that metadata?
My understanding is it depends upon whether you're talking historical or real time when it comes to geolocation data, but it can very much implicate the warrant requirement and does in the FBI's work a lot.
So that's what we're trying to, what's frustrating to me, being on Judiciary, being the chairman of the Oversight Committee, there is nobody on this panel, as in a republic, a representative of the people, that have been able to see what the guidance is post-Jones in understanding how you interpret and what you're actually doing or not doing with somebody's geolocation.
You've asked that of the FBI and not been able to get it?
The Department of Justice to date have been asking for this for years. What's frustrating is the Department of Justice is asking for more tools, more compulsion, and we can't even see what you're already doing. We can't even see to the degree you're using stingrays and how they work. I mean, I think I understand how they work, but what sort of requirements are there? Is it articulable suspicion? Is there a probable cause warrant that's being used or needed? And it's not just the FBI. I mean, you've got the IRS and Social Security and others using stingrays. Again, other tools that I would argue are actually content to somebody's life and not just the metadata that you are able to see. So how do we get exposure? How do we help you if you routinely refuse, and I say you, meaning the Department of Justice, access in explaining to us what tools you already do have and what you can access? How do we solve that?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer sitting here. I'll go find out what's been asked for and what's been given. I like the idea of giving as much transparency as possible because I think people find it reassuring, at least with respect to the FBI, to take cell phone tower simulators. We always use search warrants. And so that shouldn't be that hard to get you that information.
What I worry about, you may be responsible, and I don't know what the IRS is doing with them, and I have a hard time figuring out when that is responsible. Last comment, Mr. Chairman. To what degree are you able to access and get into, either in this case or broadly, are you able to search social media in general, and are you using that as an effective tool to investigate and combat what you need to do?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness can answer the questions.
Social media is a feature of all of our lives, and so it's a feature of a lot of our investigations. Sometimes it gives us useful information, sometimes not. It's hard to answer in the abstract, but it's a big part of our work.